Hello friends, welcome to my another React video. In this video, I'm going to describe index.js file, the modules, which is the new language of JavaScript code, and how React element insert into the root element. I will explain JSX and its inner workings as well as how to add comments to both React and JSX. If you are new to my channel, please do subscribe and learn React with me. The first file that runs in your browser when you start the dev server, open a React application or type localhost 3000 into the address bar is index.js file. When we open the index.js file, we can see that React DOM has been imported from the React DOM client package, which offers DOM specific method for rendering React elements into the DOM. Here, import refers to modules, which is next generation JavaScript code. You learn about it in plain JavaScript, but let me expand on it a little to help you get more comfortable with it. We can divide our application into multiple files using modules. A module is simply a file that, depending on the situation, may include classes or functions. With the export and import directive, we interchange functionality. Import enables the use of functionality imported from another file so that we can import the function, class, or variables and use them in the file from which we are importing them. Export allows exporting a variable, method, or class makes it externally accessible. In the next line, we are importing CSS file and component. We will learn more about them in detail later. For now, let's talk about this dot and backslash before the CSS and app file. When we import the file from the same directory, they both are in src folder. We need to use dot followed by backslash. The file name must be enclosed in a single or double quote. This is root API. React DOM object is being imported from the React DOM package and create root method is being called on it. The DOM is essentially handled and updated by React DOM. To render the React application, we pass the DOM element to React DOM dot create root, and then it passes the React element, which is the app component, to the render method, which typically render our primary React component onto the root element. This ID is selected from the index.html file that is in public folder. We don't need to touch the file at all. When we are just getting started, your code will be written in the app.js file, which contains all of the nested components that represent your entire application. Now I'm going to introduce JavaScript syntax extension JSX. When you open your app.js file, HTML is included, which is something that is not typically seen in vanilla JavaScript. We define it as JSX. It allows to insert HTML code into JavaScript file. When selecting an element or creating an element in vanilla JavaScript, we use the getElementById or query selector method. However, in React, we don't need to provide step-by-step instructions. React uses the Babel compiler to convert JSX code into easy to understand JS objects. These objects are used by React to create and maintain the DOM. Additionally, React DOM escapes any values embedded in JSX before rendering them, preventing injection threats. Therefore, it is okay to use user input in JSX. I'm going to delete this code from here to here. Let's write hello world to the React application h1 hello world and close this h1 tag and save it. Since it is a live development server, it will update the browser. And here it is. I discussed all about the React in my previous React video. Check it out if you haven't watched it. I have given the link in the description below. Remember to start the development server. It is npm start. Let's first look at how the internals of JSX function work before moving on. Look at the React.createElement first. React.createElement is another alternate method that we can use. According to the official React documentation, each JSX element is simply synthetic sugar for calling React.createElement. It requires 3 arguments. Let's see how it works practically. So React.createElement in parentheses, the first argument is component or element. If it is HTML element, you can pass it as a string such as div or span. I'm passing h1 heading, then comma. The second argument is object or property which sets all of the elements attribute such as class name. If there are no attributes, you can pass an empty object or null. The third argument is text that appears between the opening and closing h1 tag, or it can be a child element. So I'm passing hello world. For using this React.createElement, we also need to import React to our app component. So import React from React Now save it and it will output the hello world to the screen. We can pass child element as a third argument. For that, we need to call react.createElement again. Let's replace it with div and pass the element attribute as a second argument. So, curly braces, class name, colon, app. And third argument, we are going to pass child element. So enter react dot create element parenthesis h1 null comma react. Now save it and here it output react. We can pass any number of third argument like p, span, or you can skip the third argument if there are no content or child element. Let's back to JSX. When adding HTML properties, use the camel convention. For example, class becomes class name. And if your code contains an empty tag such as image, input, or HR, close them with backslash and greater sign. For example, image SRC A alt and close it backslash with greater sign. The primary thing to remember is that a script or file can only have one root or parent element. This is div. Yes. And all children elements stack should contain inside of the parent element. For example, h1, welcome to React. And the next, p. It is JavaScript library. If we remove this div tag here and here, it's going to throw error. Let's save it and I will show you. And here it is throwing the error. Also, I want to point you that you can use the shorter syntax and empty tag like this. So if I save it, it's going to work. Let me show you. So You can use it if you don't want to enclose your child element within the div or another parent element in some cases. Please be aware that neither keys nor attribute are supported. Or we can apply React.fragment. So React.fragment and close it. And between them, we can pass the child element. It allows you to group a list of child elements without the use of a wrapper, and it might include keys. We will look at how to add keys later. This is complete HTML code, but we can also include JavaScript expressions in JSX by enclosing them in curly braces. These curly braces allow you to perform any valid JavaScript expression and output the dynamic value on the screen. So if we declare the constant name here, React, so we can include JavaScript expression in curly braces. So name, close the curly braces and save. And here it output on the screen. Similarly, by passing the function inside curly braces, we may call the function which is also a JavaScript valid expression. Let's define the function number num1 and num2. Return num1 multiply num2 and embed the result in the p element. P tag curly braces. Inside the curly braces, pass the function name with arguments 6 and 2 and save it, and it output 12. Make sure not add quotes around the curly braces. Let's see how we can add comment in React and JSX. The first, why we make use of comments. We use comments to describe how the code works and alternative solutions that we do not want to execute. Make sure not to use it for summaries, explanations, or anything like. Your code should already be simple to understand. Comment in React can be single line or multi-line, just like in regular JavaScript. So, single line comment, output 12, and we can add multi-line comment, just like regular JavaScript. So this is multi-line comment. In JSX, we enclose it in curly braces and use a multi-line style comment. So we add curly braces, backslash, star. This is React application star and backslash. Save it and everything is fine. If you are using Virtual Studio Code editor, you can use shortcut. Select a line of code and press Ctrl and backslash. On a window, or command plus backslash if you are Mac user. You can use it for comment or uncomment. Let's end this video here. If you like this video, please like, share and comment and follow this React series. We are going to learn anything and everything.